We're fearlessly talking about the biggest stories that matter to you the most. Breaking news, John Calipari is finalizing a 5-year deal to become the Arkansas Razorbacks' next head coach, covering college sports like no one else. The biggest guests in sports. We now welcome in Hall of Famer Jim Calhoun.
Such a pride I had, I came to connect.
The legend, Tim Tebow, joins us.
We'll run it back. I like it.
The legend, Herschel Walker. Welcome in, everybody. Thursday morning edition, Aaron Torres Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Aaron Torres. Hope everybody's doing well. Hope everybody's having a great day. Monster show. It's a Thursday, final weekend of the college hoop season coming up. But you know what? We got a lot to get to before then. We're going to open Darius Acuff. Are we still somehow underrating this player? 28 and 13 as my little dog just jumps on the couch right behind me. 28 and 13 for Darius Acuff. Are we still underappreciating how good he is? We will play that Sean Miller sound. Also, Nolan Richardson, very cool story, getting a statue out there in Fayetteville. From there, we'll get to a couple other stories. AJ Dybantsa wants to return to school. Say what? We're going to talk about Mark Pope hitting the recruiting trail, and also we will say goodbye to a legend, Lou Holtz. Icon, coach, media member. I have a couple stories I want to share. So we'll wrap the show talking a little bit of Lou Holtz. Before we get started, and by the way, we'll hit on a little bit of this weekend. I think, by the way, we're not going to do a ton on this weekend solely because, Caleb Wilson's hurt. Don't know what's going on with Carolina. Kentucky, Florida, whatever. Point is, we got a monster show. So everybody take a deep breath, relax. Before we get started, a couple quick reminders. Make sure that you are subscribed to the Aaron Torres Pod YouTube channel. New clips, new videos going up every single day. We really do appreciate your support. We are right at around 71,000 subscribers. I cannot believe the growth of this channel. We very much appreciate your support. If you are not subscribed, make sure to do so. You can also listen to the pod on Apple and Spotify. I should always mention that. Some of you prefer the audio-only pod, can't watch on YouTube. We're available on Apple and Spotify. And if you are listening via pod, make sure to leave us a 5-star rating. Make sure to leave us a review as well. Well, I'll tell you what, the reviews are in for Circa Sportsbook. Let's go ahead and talk about them really quick. It's going to be a fun week for us. Circa Sportsbook, they are our official hotel and casino partner. And listen, I told you, March Madness is coming. If you're in Vegas, this is the only place to watch games. The Circa Sportsbook in Vegas is the biggest sportsbook in the world. Stadium Swim is an unbelievable sight that you got to see. But I know all of you can't get to Vegas. And so guess what? Circa has opened up a brand new sportsbook, Mint Kentucky Downs, the Mint in Franklin, Kentucky. Not only all the same great amenities, I found out yesterday, the first sports book in the state of Kentucky, brick and mortar. It is the biggest sports book in Kentucky, brick and mortar. And here is the really cool part. If you've been wanting to check it out, now is the time, and next week specifically is the time. So we will be, producer Matt and I, at Circa Sportsbook at the Mint this coming Tuesday. That is March 10th. This coming Tuesday. It is a week before the day before the SEC tournament, And the bottom line is, listen, you're going to be in the Nashville area. You might be going to games. You might be driving down to Nashville. Stop by. We're going to have pizza. We're going to have drinks for those of you who, of course, are not driving. We're going to have beverages, whatever. And you get to hang out with us. We'll watch some games, maybe make some bets. This is at the brand new Circa Sportsbook, Mint Kentucky Downs. Cannot wait to see all of you there. If you want to come, make sure to RSVP Aaron Torres podcast questions at gmail.com. Aaron Torres podcast questions at gmail.com. RSVP, limited space. We want you to come. And I should mention, too, I know there's so many fans that will be in Nashville for the SEC tournament. You don't have to be a Kentucky fan. We got fans from a bunch of different fan bases already RSVP'd. The new Circa Sportsbook at Mint Kentucky Downs in Franklin, Kentucky. We will be there at 6 p.m. Central Time. That is the local time at the Mint, and we will see you on Tuesday. With that said, it's a busy Thursday in the world of sports. There is no more time to waste. So, folks, let's do it. Let's get to the topic of the day. Topic of the day was a little bit of a quieter Wednesday night in college hoops. Admittedly, the SEC kind of front-loaded their schedule for the big Saturday that's coming up. Big 12 was a little bit quiet. ACC was a little bit quiet. Duke, Carolina, Kansas, Kentucky, they've all played. But there was one signature game, and it was actually a pretty important game. Arkansas hosting the Texas Longhorns, and it was important for a couple reasons. Arkansas could clinch the double bye to the SEC tournament with a win over Texas. Texas, by the way, I think would have officially probably played themselves off of the bubble. They are still on the bubble as of right now, and you thought if they get the win in Arkansas, they will probably be in really good shape. It probably won't matter what they do the final game of the regular season. Well, is Texas off the bubble? That remains to be seen because they did not do it on Wednesday night. A dominant 105-85 victory over the Texas Longhorns for the Arkansas Razorbacks. It was the final game of the year at Bud Walton, and the Arkansas Razorbacks certainly sent the fans home with plenty to be excited about. Before we get to the game, I just want to spend half a second talking about kind of the side story. And the side story is really cool. It was a fun day in Fayetteville. Yesterday's show, we talked about the jersey patch announcement with Tyson. But I bring it up because throughout the day, you kind of started to hear these rumors of, could there be something else coming at halftime of the basketball game? Well, I bring it up because at halftime, we found out that Arkansas is going to create a statue for Nolan Richardson, who, of course, was the only head coach to ever win a basketball championship at Arkansas in 1994, right around the time that I kind of started watching college basketball, Corliss Williamson, et cetera, et cetera. The Razorbacks put out a full video. I don't think we need to play the full video here, but Matt, if you have a picture or two, that is Coach Richardson in his 80s. He spoke to the crowd. It was brief, and like I said, it's about a 2.5 minute clip. I just thought it'd be better rather than playing the full video. You can find that if you want it. But, listen, it's not my place to tell Arkansas how to run their athletic department, but obviously the best coach in program history. The court is named after him, and Nolan Richardson will have a statue outside of Bud Walton Arena. It was a feel-good moment. Coach Richardson called the Hogs right there at halftime, and what a performance it was. So with that said, Nolan Richardson gets his flowers. You know who else gets their flowers? Pretty much everyone on Arkansas. Like I said, a 105-85 win. Arkansas, because of injuries, is really down to about 7 players right now. But it doesn't change the fact that the 7 who played on Wednesday night, were pretty freaking awesome. Okay, so we'll get to Darius Acuff in a minute, but I think you can argue this was the best game of DJ Wagner's season. I swear, by the way, there's got to be an analytic to prove it. He was wearing the long sleeves under the jersey all year. He's gone sleeveless the last couple games. He's been on fire. 15 points on Wednesday night. Trevin Brazile, listen, I've been waiting 4 years for Trevin Brazile to become the consistent elite guy that we all think he's capable of being. But on this night, 28 points, 3 3-pointers, 9 of 11 from the field, 7 rebounds, 2 steals, 3 blocks. Like, if you could get this Trevin Brazile every single game, I think Arkansas could legitimately win the national championship. We'll see. I mean, I still think they're probably one of the 7 or 8 best teams. But the story, once again, was Darius Acuff. Okay, and so Darius Acuff, listen, I think I was on this before pretty much anybody. I remember saying after the Tennessee game in the SEC opener, I said, this guy is going to be a first-team All-American. Well, another incredible night for Darius Acuff. 28 points, 13 assists. And actually, it was a little bit of a down game for Darius Acuff because he had 3 turnovers. Remember the game about 2 weeks ago? I think he had 11 assists and 1 turnover. He had 3 full turnovers in this game. No, I'm kidding. He's unbelievable. 28 points. What we consistently talk about on this show, too, is the efficiency in which he did it. 8 of 15 from the field. We'll get into some details in a second, but 8 of 15 from the field. So well over 50% from the field. 4 of 6 from 3. I'm not great at math, but that's 66%. And then again, 13 assists in a dominant win. And so, like I said, I have said everything there is to say about Darius Acuff. He is unbelievable. He is one of the best freshman guards that I have ever seen. He's maybe, frankly, the best freshman guard that I have ever seen. But at this point, you've heard what I have to say. You have heard my opinions on everything to do with Darius Acuff. What I want to do, though, is play what Sean Miller, the Texas coach, said about Darius Miller. Darius Miller played at Kentucky for John Calipari. Darius Acuff. What Sean Miller said about Darius Acuff. I don't know if he said anything about Darius Miller. I missed that part of the press conference, but he spoke about Darius Acuff. It's a long clip. It's about 2.5 minutes, but it is so good. There are so many different quotes you could pull out about how awesome Darius Acuff is. I want to play the full piece of sound. Producer Matt, go ahead and play it.
Statement here. Usually a guy like Acuff gets, too much credit or too much respect as a young player in college basketball. That can happen sometimes when a guy is that highly touted and certainly has this bright future beyond college like he does. But in my time, and I'll just go 34 years, I've never seen a point guard better. And when people talk about, who's going to be the number one pick in the NBA draft or who's the best player in the conference, I mean, just for a perspective, and I think our conference is great, he averages 25 points a game. I'll just start right there. He shoots 40% from the three-point line. He leads our league in assists. I think he's the first player since Pete Maravich who's led our league in both points and assists. If you look at Arkansas as a team, the best thing they do is they never turn the ball over, and that's because he has the ball in his hands 80% of the time. His assist-to-turnover ratio is astonishing. And not until you actually are in the game and you feel his presence. The adage of a point guard makes the game easier for his teammates. He's a textbook prime example of that. I just have never been on a court where one player at that position is any better than he is. Greatness is how I would describe his game, and seems like an amazing young man. And, just to watch, I bring it up because this is game 30. He's got several weeks or a month or so left. But guys like him, they just don't come into college basketball very, very often. I mean, he's a generational player. He's really, really good. And this number one pick thing, I don't know why people aren't talking about him more. I can't imagine anybody better.
That was Sean Miller after the game talking about Darius Acuff. So many good things in there. I actually don't really know where to begin. Among the highlights of the 2-minute monologue for Sean Miller, he says, quote, he's a generational point guard. He's never seen a better point guard in 34 years of college basketball. He talked about the efficiency. He talked about also, should we be considering Darius Acuff for the number one pick? We'll get to that last part in a minute. But first of all, let me say this about Acuff, because there's actually a few things basketball related that stood out to me. One, the efficiency continues to be the thing that I don't think he gets enough credit for. Again, let's go back to the Alabama double overtime game. He was in a boot 2 days before. I confirmed that fact, that there was real talk that he wasn't going to play that Alabama game. But if you go back to the Alabama game, remember, he scored 49 points in that game. We all remember it. It was unbelievable. It was maybe the best game anybody has played. 16 of 27 from the field, well over 50%. 6 of 10 from 3, 11 of 12 from the free throw line. And so even in a game where he scored 49 points, he shot well over 50% from the field. And that, to me, is one of the most incredible things about this. And I've used this example before, but I remember the year that Trae Young was at Oklahoma. And every day on SportsCenter, Trae Young scored 41 points. It's unbelievable. This is the greatest thing we've ever seen. And then it'd be like, did you watch the game? Trae Young scored 41 points on 37 shots. His teammates all stood in the corner. They lost the game. His teammates looked like they hate playing with him. And Oklahoma kind of fell apart down the stretch. That is not what Darius Acuff is doing. Darius Acuff is doing it in a crazy efficient manner. He got 28 points on 15 shots from the field. shot well over 50% from the field on Wednesday night. That is unbelievable for a guy his size. He's shooting about 44% from the three-point line. Amazing. And he takes care of the basketball. That is something Sean Miller mentioned, and it was something that I was really thinking about, because I was thinking about this, is that every coach in basketball has stuff that they very much prioritize, okay? Dan Hurley, I'm a Dan Hurley, obviously a UConn guy, whatever. Dan Hurley, what he cares about more than anything, you have to play hard. If you're not going to go crazy, to the wall, diving on, you can't play for Dan Hurley, okay? Every coach has a little bit of a different, some of the non-negotiable stuff. Mick Cronin, for all the criticism, that's actually his big thing, take care of the basketball. His teams consistently have the fewest turnovers, right around top 5, top 10 in the country. That is a non-negotiable for Mick Cronin. Well, I was thinking about this with Cal. I would argue Cal is a stickler for a lot of things. I actually think turnovers are sort of something that he's come to grips with, are part of the deal of coaching. When you coach all these young players, they're going to make mistakes with the ball. They're going to turn it over, right? And so I bring it up because I think Cal emphasizes a lot of things, and nobody wants to turn the ball over, but sometimes when you're playing young guys, that happens. And that's the most incredible thing to me about Darius Acuff, is that he takes care of the ball while always having it in his hands as one of the youngest players in this league. And Arkansas right now, one of the reasons they're so tough to beat, as Sean Miller said, they don't turn the ball over. I think they average, they're top 5 in the country, I know, in fewest turnovers. On Wednesday night, they had 10, which is kind of crazy. You'll trade the 105 points for 10 turnovers any time of the week. Bigger picture, Sean Miller did say, why aren't people considering him for number 1 overall in the draft? I'll say this, for me, I haven't really gotten into it. We're not an NBA draft show, but I did notice, Kendrick Perkins was one of the guys that really started this narrative. It was after the Alabama game a few weeks ago where Kendrick Perkins kind of started why aren't we talking about this guy as number 1 overall? And what I will say is I think we're at the point where I have no problem if a team is considering taking Darius Acuff number 1 overall. And I think there's about 4 or 5 guys that you could say that for. AJ Dybantsa, we're going to talk about in a minute, because what he's doing at BYU low-key is unbelievable as well. It's not only that he's leading the country in scoring. This guy, because of injuries, is basically playing 40 minutes a night. And him, Acuff, they're the anti-Darren Peterson of they show up every single day and always deliver. And unfortunately with Dybantsa, his teammates, there's just too many injuries on that team to have any success. But I have no problem if you go Dybantsa number 1. I'm actually a Caleb Wilson guy. 19-9, played with a broken hand against Miami. He's been out. He's rushing back to be able to play. I love Caleb Wilson. Transparently, I would not take Darren Peterson number 1 overall. And again, we have plenty of time to talk the draft. I just think, 1, there's too much talent. 2, I was thinking about this. I don't know the last time that somebody was quote unquote deemed to be a generational prospect. They fell in the draft and teams regretted it. You always the draft picks you regret are the guys that have the insane talent, but also a lot of red flags. The Ben Simmonses of the world, the Markelle Fultzes of the world. Even you can't say Zion because nobody knew at the time what he was going to become. But when you have this many talented players in a draft, I wouldn't take Darren Peterson number 1. Cam Boozer, I would, depending on the team. Mr. Consistency. But I think there's an argument absolutely right now, this second, that Darius Acuff should be the number 1 overall pick. And again, we got plenty of time as an NBA draft. But we'll be talking NBA draft all of late May into June. But at the same time, what I will say about Darius Acuff, what stands out to me about him is the fact that I believe that if you actually look at him, and we're not an NBA draft podcast. We're certainly not an NBA podcast. But I think you can absolutely argue that his game actually translates better to the NBA than it does in college right now. Because college, we all know the defensive schemes, they clog the lane. There's no space. There's no whatever. Put him on an NBA court. By the way, don't tell my buddy JJ Redick because he'll get mad at me for saying this, but nobody plays defense in the NBA until the 4th quarter anyway. But give him space, give him even better shooting around him, and he's had great shooting. And then I think also just his ability to pass, his ability to take care of the ball, I think he's going to be a 20-10 guy, like maybe next year. And by the way, here's the funny part too, because the NBA draft thing is Well, he's too small. Okay. I looked it up. He's listed at 6'3". You know who else is listed at 6'3"? Tyrese Maxey, who's like the third leading scorer in the NBA right now. Damian Lillard's under 6 feet. Allen Iverson, Chris Paul. I don't know. All these guys seem to make it work out. And so, again, we have plenty of time to talk about NBA draft, but I'm just here to tell you right now, I just feel like you can absolutely make the argument this second that he could go number 1 overall. I don't know if he will. I think it depends on the team. And I would have no problem if he took AJ Dybantsa. I would have no problem if he took Cam Boozer, even Caleb Wilson. I would take him ahead of Darren Peterson. Let me also say this, and this was the part that sucks about NBA draft stuff, is to elevate one guy, you kind of have to diminish another. But the Kingston Flemings thing, I don't see. Like, what does Kingston Flemings do better than Darius Acuff? I'm not trying to crap on Kingston Flemings. I think he'll be a good NBA player. He doesn't score more points than Darius Acuff. He doesn't shoot a higher percentage than Darius Acuff. He's not a better three-point shooter than Darius Acuff. He turns the ball over more. He has fewer assists. I'm not trying to be a jerk. I'm just stating facts. So I could go on and on. I don't want to diminish anybody else. And I do like Kingston Flemings, let the record show. I'm just saying right now, I do think there's an argument for Darius Acuff. And I do think, to the point of the title of this show, I think we are now 30 games in and we are still not fully appreciating who Darius Acuff is and what he's doing. All right, so what we're going to do, we're going to take, before we go to the break, because we got a lot of comments on Acuff, you know what, we'll come back. Let's get to some of the questions. I did want to quickly shout out Crazy Dodd, who says, I've never managed to make it here live and on time before. Yes, Acuff is being underrated. We appreciate you. Yes, we have been going live in the mornings. I will say, as we get deeper into March, we'll probably start going live at night after games. So if you're more of a night owl, guess what? You got plenty of time to catch us. We're going to be doing more night shows starting next week when we're at the Mint Circus Sportsbook. We'll come back and tell you more about that. But just wanted to make sure to acknowledge a gentleman who sounds like loves the show but doesn't get to listen live often. Well, guess what? We are live. And what we're going to do, we're going to come back. When we do, we'll get to some of your questions and comments about Acuff. AJ Dybantsa says he wants to come back to college. Don't know if I believe it, but I think there's an interesting conversation to have. Mark Pope hits the recruiting trail. Talk a little bit about the weekend. Of course, acknowledge as well the passing of Lou Holtz. Quick break. Be right back. All right, we're going to get back to the show in a minute, but before we do, you know what we got to do. We got to thank our friends. We got to thank our partners. We got to go ahead and thank Collie Puffs and ColliePuffs.com. Yeah, you see the logo on the back of the screen right here. Okay, so I've told you all about Collie Puffs, but family-owned company, not far from where I live. Joey, a huge sports fan. And one day he was sitting on the couch and he said, you know what? I need a snack that is both healthy but delicious, something my kids are going to love, something my family's going to love, something I'm going to love. And so he came up with Collie Puffs. This is the new age health food snack. You don't need to go to the grocery aisle and buy all that crap, the Doritos, the Fritos. No, my friends, you need Collie Puffs. Baked, not fried, avocado oil, no grease, healthy ingredients. But here's the best part. They taste freaking delicious. Actually, there's another best part. In addition to tasting delicious, in addition to being healthy, they are also taking care of listeners of the Aaron Torres pod. Okay, so check this out. All you got to do is go to ColliePuffs.com. That's CAULIPUFFS.com, ColliePuffs.com, and you can get 15% off any purchase with the promo code Torres. That's Torres, Torres. It's that simple. 15% off any purchase. One bag to try them out, 100 bags to cater a party. Doesn't really matter. Promo code Torres. ColliePuffs.com gets you 15% off. Collie Puffs also available on Amazon. You obviously can't get the promo code there, but ColliePuffs.com, ColliePuffs.com, promo code Torres gets you 15% off any purchase. Thank you to our friends at Collie Puffs. All right, everybody. All right, back. Good to be back. Good to be back. Matt, I see you got a couple questions and comments to start there. Let's go ahead and get to those really quick. Charles, he's got the point on Arkansas that needs to be said. If our big guys even show a pulse of life, we can make a deep tournament run. Listen, it's not. You're right. There's nothing else to say. You need Ewan to be better than he's been, and you need the Trevin Brazil that we saw on Tuesday night. If we get the Trevin Brazil from Texas, I think Arkansas can legitimately win a national championship. He's such a mismatch down low, but you need the bigs to play better than they have been. Good news is there's precedent for it. Jonas Adu just started playing well around this time last year. So I just bring it up because because of that. Give me a sec. The dog's trying to get out of the room. Give me half a second here, people. This is real stuff here. This is real. This is what happens when you go live. Give me half a second. Producer Matt reminding the world that I will be at Circa Sportsbook Mint Kentucky Downs on Tuesday. We'll give you more details. All right. I'm back. Matt, can you hear me? All right. We got all sorts of drama right now. Got the dog. Got the internet. No drama at Circa Sportsbook. We'll talk about that in a minute. Matt, let's get to another question or two before we switch gears. Crazy Dodd says, TB, Trevin Brazile, was the TB we've wanted for 3 years last night. He showed up for his final game in Bud Walton, 1,000%. You know, I go back to like the Texas Tech game, the Louisville game. Like we felt like the breakout was there and it never really happened. One thing I will say, one, Trevin Brazile was awesome in the SEC tournament and the NCAA tournament last year. I do wonder, like teams that don't see him every game, I do think there is something to, like, if you've never seen that size and that athleticism and that ability to space, I do think it's a tough assignment on like 1 day's notice. I think he's a guy that could blow up in the tournament. The talent is undeniable. It's just the motor and the consistency. I don't know why we can't get it. One more, Matt, and then we'll get to our friends at SeatGeek, and then we'll get to AJ Dybantsa. Great night to be a Hog fan last night. Nolan statue and the TB Acuff leaving Bud Walton in style. 100%, you know, and it's funny. I purposely didn't mention that it was Darius Acuff's last game at Bud Walton, even though we know it's Darius Acuff's last game at Bud Walton. It was senior night. I thought it was interesting, and I don't know why, if it ever came out, but John Calipari said there would be no ceremony for Trevin Brazile and Nick Pringle. You know, Trevin Brazile seems like a quiet guy, probably didn't want that spotlight on him. I wonder if that's why. I don't know if anybody knows, but yeah, great way to send Bud Walton out in style. And by the way, I should mention, I've been critical of Arkansas AD Hunter Yurachek on this show, specifically, you know, how he handled some of the stuff around the Sam Pittman firing, kind of publicly saying we're not in position to win a title in football. He's knocked it out of the park the last like couple weeks. You know, the Nolan Richardson statue I know means a lot to the folks of Arkansas, and so you're going to get that. And then, of course, the naming rights deal, it's going to be huge. It's going to be a game changer, all of that. You know what else is a game changer? Getting tickets to watch your favorite team. Here it is. Facts appreciate the truth. I don't know if I assume that's about Darius Acuff. Grind to shine, TV Nation. I assume that's about Darius Acuff. Either way, I appreciate it. Maybe you're just talking about me. Facts appreciate the truth. Fire, 100%. I don't know. But thank you. Let's switch gears before we do. I do want to give a shout out to our friends and our ticketing partners, SeatGeek. So it's that time of year. Maybe you're going to the SEC tournament. Maybe you're going to the Big East tournament. Maybe you're going to the Big Ten tournament. Maybe you're going to the NCAA tournament. Maybe your basketball team sucks and you want to focus on going to a concert or a show. You're going to need tickets. And what you need is to use America's #1 ticketing app, SeatGeek. Over 28 million downloads on SeatGeek. And what I appreciate about SeatGeek is two things. One, every ticket on the app, rated 1 through 10 with a green dot or a red dot. Green dot means go ahead and purchase. Red dot means stay away. Every ticket, again, rated 1 through 10. But what I really love about SeatGeek, we all know the truth. They love Torres. If you love Torres, I love you. And SeatGeek loves Torres. Here's the bottom line. If you need tickets, take advantage of a very special offer just for listeners of the Aaron Torres pod. If you go to SeatGeek.com or the SeatGeek app and you use promo code Torres, that's promo code TORRES, you get $20 off your first purchase. SeatGeek app, promo code Torres gets you $20 off your first purchase. Should mention, not just games, shows, concerts, Major League Baseball, college basketball. If they have a ticket on SeatGeek, you can use promo code Torres, get $20 off your first purchase. SeatGeek app, promo code Torres, SeatGeek app, promo code Torres. We appreciate their support of the Aaron Torres pod. All right, let's switch gears. Let's get to a couple other topics from the day. You see AJ Dybantsa on the screen. Let's go ahead and get to a very interesting piece of audio from AJ Dybantsa. Okay, so AJ Dybantsa, we just talked about Acuff. Is he going to be the number one pick? Is he not going to be the number one pick? I just bring it up to say AJ Dybantsa, in my opinion, if I had to guess right now, will end up going number one. And let's go ahead and give him credit because it has not been the season that anyone was expecting. Publicly, AJ Dybantsa said, if we don't make the Final Four in my 1 year, I will deem it a disappointment. Well, it's out of AJ Dybantsa's control that there are 6 season-ending injuries to his other teammates. Richie Saunders, first-team All-Big 12 guy a year ago, out for the year. Dawson Baker, I think, was kind of the low-key important one, was a glue guy, was the 6th man. He's out. Nate Pickens, probably the best defensive player on the perimeter. He's out. Xavier Staten, their rim protection, he's out. It's just been one thing after another after another. And so on the court, it's been disappointing. Or in the win-loss column, it's been disappointing. I don't think you can say in the production column it's been disappointing for AJ Dybantsa because this is crazy. How about this? Leading the country in scoring as a freshman, 24.8 points per game, 6.7 rebounds, nearly 4 assists per game. He's shooting nearly 35% from the field. And here is the crazy part. Last 5 games, 38 minutes against Cincinnati, 38 minutes against West Virginia, 36 against UCF, and that was such a blowout that they pulled him out with a few minutes to go. 40 against Iowa State in a win, 39 against Arizona. So he has to not only play, but play big minutes every single night. So I bring it up. I think it's been a good year for AJ. It doesn't change the fact that it is quickly coming to an end. BYU, 1 regular season game left. I don't think they'll be very long for the Big 12 tournament, and then we'll see if they can make a run in the NCAA tournament. But the number of games that AJ Dybantsa will play at BYU is very limited. Or is it? Dun, dun, dun. Why do I bring it up? It's because AJ Dybantsa did an interview this week, and he said, I don't know if I'm ready to leave BYU yet. Remember, Cooper Flagg at this time last year said, I don't want to leave Duke. AJ Dybantsa kind of brought it up himself. He had an interview with the Deseret News, which is the big local outlet out there in Utah. And here's what he had to say about maybe staying another year at BYU.
About going number one? Do you want to go number one?
Yeah.
Do you think you will?
Well, I might not leave.
What do you mean?
Like, I might not leave college.
Why not?
No, I just got to return to the season.
So you haven't made up your mind that you're going to go into the draft?
Nah, cause my mom wants me to graduate.
Really?
Yeah, so I might not leave. But I might leave. I don't know. The fans might get into my head, talk about, 1 more year, maybe 3 more years. I don't know. But I'm going to have to talk to my mom. So
your mom wants you to stay and,
yeah,
and get your degree.
She wants me to get my degree.
Yeah. Why does she think it's important that you get your degree?
Because, as mom, she's thinking like post-basketball and, God forbid if anything happens to me, I should always have a backup plan.
I think people would be shocked to hear that, though, because everybody's assuming you're going into the draft after this season.
I mean, yeah, they can assume. I ain't supposed to say anything.
AJ Dybantsa saying, Mom wants me to get my degree. I might not be leaving yet. Let me say this. I love the enthusiasm. I thought it was funny. Both the reporter and AJ had that smirk on their face of like, we're not really serious here. I thought it was funny. Like AJ kind of had the, yeah, I want to stay. Sure. And then the reporter had the smirk of like, oh crap, I might go national. Like this might be on SportsCenter and it might be on the Torres pod. I don't think he thought about the Torres pod, but he thought about SportsCenter, whatever. And I just bring it up because it's a funny story. And it does bring up something that I've talked about before. And we're not going to spend too much time on this, but I think 2 things are true. AJ Dybantsa is going to go pro after this year. Like he's not coming back to college basketball. But I said this last year with Cooper Flagg. And I'm basically just revisiting the same segment because darn it, why not? It's a Thursday in early March. But I bring it up because I do think there is something to be said about the idea that at some point, somewhere, I truly believe that there is going to be a player of AJ Dybantsa's caliber, of Cooper Flagg's caliber, that does say, I ain't going to the pros. I'm coming back to college. And it's not for the reason that you think, and it's not going to be pushed by the people that you think it'll be pushed by. What do I mean by that? I don't think it is going to be a player. Let me put it this way. I'm not going to get cute. I'm not going to beat around the bush. I believe that at some point, one of the shoe companies, not even the school, not even the collective, the shoe company is going to say, if you're Nike, if you're Adidas, you're going to sit there and say, wait a second now. We're already paying this guy NIL money, 3, 4, 5 million a year, whatever it ends up being. This guy is more marketable to us at Duke, at UConn, at Kansas, than say with the Washington Wizards or the Charlotte Hornets or whatever. I'm not saying AJ is going to be the guy to come back. Cooper Flagg didn't, but I said it last year with Cooper Flagg. Cooper Flagg might not be coming back, but at some point somebody will. And I truly believe that's going to be the case with somebody who's not named AJ Dybantsa. The reason why is pretty straightforward, right? Matt, we can. I don't know what's going on with this stream here. We'll be quick to wrap the show. The reason why is pretty straightforward. Is the bottom line is that when I look at the situation with college basketball, what I would say is this. Is that you have these players that are now making millions of dollars in college basketball. And I understand it's not the same as a fully guaranteed 4 or 5 year deal once you get to the NBA. And I know the money's not good enough. And I know it's not going to happen with AJ Dybantsa. But at the same time, what I keep going back to is this. One, for one more season, you can kind of get to the same amount of money that you would make in 1 year in the NBA. Again, I'm not talking about a 5-year fully guaranteed contract, a 4-year fully guaranteed contract, but rookies are making what, $8, $9, $10 million. You can get to that in college basketball. And I don't know this for sure, but my guess is that AJ Dybantsa is probably making well over $10 million this year as a college basketball player. Now, it's not all from BYU, but BYU's probably chipping in 3 or 4, no big deal. Then he's got probably a shoe deal. He's got the Red Bull deal that we've talked about. He's on all these commercials. He's doing this. He's doing that. And so for 1 year, you can absolutely do it. And I think there's a couple variables here. One, first of all, none of these kids want to leave. They all everyone loves college because it's the best years of your life. And so I can go back to DeMarcus Cousins didn't want to leave Kentucky. I know that for a fact. Anthony Davis didn't want to leave Kentucky. I know that for a fact. Zion Williamson didn't want to leave Duke. He stated it publicly. Cooper Flagg stated it publicly. And so I just bring it up because all these guys want to stay. And I do think there is something with the NBA, with the lottery system. All these guys have to go to bad teams. And the fact that you can now make, as I said a second ago, so much money in college that I think it's something that somebody will consider at some point, right? And where I think, like I said a second ago, that it could happen is specifically with the shoe companies, because the shoe companies, they invest millions into these athletics programs, and then they now are investing millions into individual players via NIL, right? So you take Darren Peterson. I'm not even going to criticize Darren Peterson. I would venture to guess most of his NIL money is coming from a deal with Adidas. Frankly, I think that's the reason Bill Self isn't being very critical of Darren Peterson, because he's like, Darren Peterson's like the next generation for Adidas. That's my personal opinion. You can disagree, whatever. Doesn't really matter. What does matter, though, is Darren Peterson might not be a great example because he doesn't play very much even in college. But let's go back to Cooper Flagg last year. I know he was with New Balance as a shoe endorser, but let's just say hypothetically that he was a Nike kid with a Nike NIL deal. And let's say he's considering going to the NBA draft, and it feels like the Washington Wizards are going to get the number 1 pick or some irrelevant franchise. Is Cooper Flagg more valuable to Nike at Duke, or is he more valuable to Nike with the Washington Wizards? I'll give you actually probably the best example. Zion Williamson. Now, it didn't work out, but remember how big Zion was. And then he goes to the New Orleans Pelicans, and then he's hurt. And then he's out of sight. And then he's out of mind. Would Zion Williamson have been more valuable to Nike at Duke or with the New Orleans Pelicans? I think we both know the answer. And so I look at it, and at what point does some Nike exec say, wait a second now, We have this incredible asset that everybody loves, and he's at one of the huge brands in college basketball. Say it's Duke, say it's UConn, say it's Kentucky, whatever. They're on national TV 40 times a year. Duke has 2 games with Carolina that consistently rate as good as any regular season basketball game in either the NBA or college basketball. Like Duke Carolina will probably get 4, 5, 6 million viewers this week. I guarantee it's going to be about as highly rated as any regular season NBA game. 2 games against Carolina if you play at Duke. You get the early season games against Kansas or against Kentucky or against whoever. You get basically the entire month of March. Or I can ship him off to Washington where he's going to win 15 games and he's going to get maybe 3 national TV games. Now, it actually worked out kind of nicely for Cooper Flagg because he ended up in Dallas, which at least is a mainstream market. But hasn't Cooper Flagg largely been out of sight, out of mind this year? Outside of a couple sports center, nobody's watching him. His team stinks, whatever, and he's playing for the Dallas Mavericks. How many people would be watching him if he was at Duke, especially if he came back after another year? So I'm not going to go on forever with this segment. And AJ Dybantsa, I love him. He ain't coming back to BYU. But I think at some point one of these guys is going to consider it. And again, I understand there is a difference between a 4-year, $60 million NBA contract and a 1-year situation in college. But if the team is bad enough, if the situation is bad enough, and if Nike or Adidas or whomever is willing to step up, I don't think it is the craziest thing. So we're having major internet problems here, so we're going to go ahead and try to wrap the show relatively quickly here. Matt, just so you know, we'll probably skip most of the weekend preview. But I do want to switch gears, and I do want to talk a little bit about a gentleman. Poor guy. I'm actually starting to feel bad for Mark Pope in Kentucky. And I know, Torres, you switch your opinion on Mark Pope every single day. I really don't. I just can't get 2 consistent games out of Kentucky where I can say the same thing day over day, week over week. One day they're coming back from 10 to beat Tennessee. The next day they're no showing at Vandy or no showing at Texas A&M or Georgia at home, or Texas A&M is going on to end, or Texas A&M is going on a 30-4 run to in the middle of the first half. Okay, so stop yelling at me. Sorry, my nose itches here. I got allergies. The internet's going out, all this stuff. Point being is that I haven't been inconsistent on Kentucky. It's just that at some point I need consistency from them. But what is also clear, this season has been lost, and Mark Pope, he's going to have a lot of work to do in this offseason because I think there are really, in my opinion, only 2 or 3 players that should consider coming back. And that's on top of the number of players that are going to be graduating anyway, like an Otega Owe, like a Denzel Aberdeen, whatever. So there's a lot of work to be done. Portal doesn't open for a month. 0 high school players committed. But there has been one player that has kind of just been kind of circling around the Kentucky sphere, and that is a player named Dink Pate. Okay, so Dink Pate, and Matt, don't pop up the visual yet, but Dink Pate is one of these G League guys. Okay, so we all know that the G League is this weird situation where there were some guys that never got drafted that ended up in the G League, whatever. Now they want to come back to college basketball. London Johnson at Louisville. The Abdullah kid, Abdullah Ahmed at BYU. There's a kid at Santa Clara, actually, that went through this. But there's a handful of players that are in the G League, not Charles Bediako, never went through the draft process. It's a different deal. And so I just bring it up because there has been a lot of talk of this one player specifically, Dink Pate, who has been in the G League wanting to come back to college, and he's kind of college age, and he's kind of said publicly, I want to come play college basketball. Well, I bring it up because on Wednesday morning, there was a reporter somewhere, I don't even know who tweeted this out about Mark Pope. Mark Pope, the Kentucky basketball coach, was in Philadelphia to watch Dink Pate play. He currently plays for the Westchester Knicks, but is potentially looking to play college basketball next season. So will Mark Pope be the latest head coach to go to the G League ranks to find a player? Before we get into Dink Pate specifically, let me say this. because I already know what's going to come. Torres, you were so mean about Charles Bediako and you said nasty things and whatever. What I will consistently say is this. Charles Bediako was to this point a unique, completely one-off situation of a guy who should have never been playing college basketball. He was not only in the G League, Alabama fans, but he was playing college basketball, declared for the draft, stayed in after the deadline. He knew what was at stake at that point. He chose to leave and chose not to come back. And so to be transparent, I don't think any of these G League players should be coming back, but I do think there is a difference between London Johnson, who's going to play at Louisville next year, who never went through the draft process, was never drafted, never has played in an NBA game, and Charles Bediako. It's the same with the kid at Santa Clara, and it is the same with Dink Pate. For people who don't know Dink Pate's backstory, he was part of the 2023 recruiting class, so the same class as DJ Wagner and Reed Shepard and those guys. He would be a true junior in high school or in college if he had gone the college route, but at the time, the college route was not available to him. He went to that G League Ignite program, which was kind of an NBA prep program, and then they disbanded, and there was about 6, 7, 8 players that had nowhere to go, so they kind of had to go to the G League. Again, I'm being semantical here and too many details, but I'm trying to give you details on this kid's situation. And so I just bring it up because he's been in the G League. And again, when all of these guys started trying to go back to college basketball, he did do an interview with Jacob Polacek from KSR, which you can pop up now, Matt, because he gave some interesting comments to Jacob. This was probably about 6 or so weeks ago. He said, I'm going to college, but I'm not set in stone on any school. He said, if Kentucky, if UK likes me, that's where I want to go. I'd like to represent. I know Coach Hart. That's my guy. That's my dude. If they play pro style basketball, I'm going to fit into any type of system. I'm going to work hard for whatever. I haven't been paying attention, though, because we have our own season going on over here. I know my journey and what I've been going on. I know what I've got going on after the season. So Dink Pate, who plays in the G League, says that if Kentucky comes after him, he wants to play at Kentucky. So the question becomes, there clearly at least some sort of interest. How much? How soon could this happen? Should they take him? Let's go ahead and dive in. First of all, with the Kentucky stuff and with the Coach Hart stuff, I think that's important to note, is that I think part of the, I want to hear from Kentucky is that Jason Hart is pretty much the only guy that he knows in college basketball, right? I mean, this is a guy that never played college basketball, wasn't recruited to play college basketball. So Jason Hart, who ran that G League Ignite program, is probably the closest thing that he has to somebody in college basketball. And so I only bring it up because I don't know that there's some crazy, like, I grew up wanting to play for Kentucky. It's just like, that's the place I'm comfortable with. That's the place that I know well. Beyond that, I think it's interesting that Pope was even there, because he was one of the people that was very outspoken about Charles Bediako a few weeks ago. Now, I will be transparent. This is different. This is not the same. I've already explained it, but I also do think Mark Pope is feeling the heat of, like, I got to make some moves and I got to do it in a hurry. The question becomes, is this somebody that Kentucky should pursue? And I will say, if the NCAA will clear him, I think the answer is absolutely yes. So the bottom line is, first of all, this is a college age player. This isn't, some 26-year-old, right? Like, we see a lot of the crap of, this guy's 22 from Australia. This guy's 24 from Latvia, whatever. So 19, 20, 21-year-olds who would be in his third year of college basketball would probably get 2 years of eligibility left. And so if you can get him, you should, because I do think he would be an impact player. And I think a lot of these G League guys haven't been very good. The kid at BYU, I'm not trying to be negative, just not very good. But I bring it up because Dink Pate is actually a very productive G League player. Remember, Charles Bediako came to college basketball averaging like 2 points per game in the G League. This Dink Pate kid is averaging 17 a game. Now, his shooting was really good last year. It's gone down a little bit in 2026. And I think that's just more a byproduct of he's playing more, he's getting more shots, whatever. But he's super athletic. And the thing that I keep coming back to with all of these schools and all of these players is you have to be smart about, if you have an opportunity to get a guy that you think can be any degree of difference maker, you got to take him, because transparently, there just aren't that many guys that are going to make that big of an impact in college basketball that are coming out of the transfer portal. Again, go back to last year. Take out the Michigan guys who are all awesome. Adai Mara, whoever, Yaxel Lenenborg, Morez Johnson. They've all been awesome. We agree on that. Who are the other big names in the portal? Donovan Dent. He's been good the last 2 weeks. First, probably 3 months of the season, he struggled to adjust to big-time college basketball, to struggle from going from the Mountain West to the Big Ten. Jaden Quaintance, I'm not even trying to criticize him, but Jaden Quaintance obviously dealing with something with an injury has been essentially a non-factor for Kentucky. All those big-name Kentucky guys, we liked Mo Diabate. It's taken him time to adjust. You go to other places. And so I bring it up because the number of actual impact guys in the portal is so minimal. And this is why, by the way, and it's kind of random, but I think John Calipari still gets crap for going heavy in the high school ranks. Who would he rather, who was better in the portal than the guys that he's getting out of high school? Same with Caleb Wilson out of North Carolina. Same with Cam Boozer out of Duke. And so if you have a guy that is older, that has a chance to be impact, I think you go after him. And clearly Pope doesn't care about any backlash. Clearly Pope feels like if this kid is going to be deemed eligible, I have to at least look into it. And I do think he would be a very good player in college basketball. Now, do I think he's going to be AJ Dybantsa? No, because if he was AJ Dybantsa, he'd be in the pros. He'd be in the NBA as a third-year player. Like, he would be in the NBA. He's 3 years removed from high school. If he was that good, he'd be in the NBA. But do I think he can be a very good player that you can surround him with other good players? Absolutely, especially depending on who you bring back. Colin Chandler will be an all-SEC guy going into next year, I believe. Malachi Moreno will play in the NBA. You plug this guy in, I think he can have an impact. You go on and on. There would be spots to fill. I still think, to me, for Kentucky, the number one priority is a point guard. I keep seeing all this stuff about this guy and that guy and this guy and that guy. How about you just go get a point guard? I keep saying DJ Thomas, D-Don Thomas at LSU is averaging 16 points and 6.5 assists per game in your league, and his coach is about to get fired. Just go get that guy. I think you need a point guard. I think you need plenty of shooting. There is clearly, by the way, a style of play that Mark Pope thrives coaching in. But I'll say this, man. Listen, I want to be fair. If Dink Pate was AJ Dybantsa, he'd be in the NBA right now. But do I think he can be a very good college player next year? I do. And I don't think beggars can be choosers right now. I think Mark Pope, if he has the opportunity to go get this kid, he absolutely should. And we'll see what happens. But remember, this was a kid that said he wanted to be recruited by Kentucky. He has a relationship with Jason Hart, and we will see if Kentucky actually makes a move. This weekend, so I'm going to skip the weekend preview because it just feels like all of these teams and all of these games, there is, something, right? Like, Florida's going to Kentucky. We all think Florida's going to win. North Carolina and Duke, I could do the whole preview, and then Caleb Wilson could be cleared to play 10 minutes after we do it. So listen, the big game, by the way, Michigan State is a big game on Sunday. Well, guess what? Michigan plays tonight. So why am I previewing it? By the way, I should mention, since we're talking Kentucky, before we wrap the show, I'll be in Kentucky next week. Maybe Dink Pate will be there too. I don't know. But this is what I need you to do. If you want to come hang, night before the SEC tournament, we are going to be at the Mint in Franklin, Kentucky. This is about 20 minutes from Bowling Green, 30 or so minutes from Nashville. This is going to be the place to be the night before the SEC tournament. Free drinks, free food. We'll be hanging out 6 p.m. Central Time, so 6 p.m. local time. If you live in the area, we want you to come out. All you got to do, RSVP, Aaron Torres, podcast questions at gmail.com. Make sure to let us know that you're coming so we can get a head count. But next Tuesday, March 10th, this is the day before the SEC tournament. Free food, free drinks at the Mint. They have a brand new Circa Sportsbook at the Mint. I need an army with me. John Rothstein says it all the time. He needs an army with him. I need an army with me at the Mint. If you want to come, Aaron Torres podcast questions at gmail.com. You can also DM me, Aaron_Torres on Twitter. Wherever you want to reach out, just let me know that you're coming. All right, let's go ahead and wrap the show. Real quick, Matt, do we have any interesting questions, comments in the chat before we get to the final piece of news? Torres, Arkansas fans love your coverage. This is from Joshua. Thanks for showing some respect and appreciating your program. Josh, thank you for tuning in. I've said this before. I love Arkansas. I love, not the program. I love the state. I had so much fun when I was down there last year. Beautiful state. They call it the natural state, the natty state for a reason. Beautiful state, beautiful surroundings. The campus is amazing. Bud Walton is amazing. So it's my privilege and honor. And it's been my privilege and honor to cover Darius Acuff because I have never seen anything quite like him. Anything else, Matt? Bobby nailed it. Talking about Darius Acuff. He says the NBA is a lot easier for a player like Darius Acuff. No D in the NBA plus twice the spacing, just shooting, and his passing is elite. Listen, I don't think it's hyperbolic to say I think he can average basically 10 points. 10 points. I think he can average close to 20 points and 10 assists next season as a rookie with the right team, in the right system, with the right coach. But you're not going to draft him if you're not ready to unleash him. I think he's going to be a really, really, really good pro. I do. And I think he's going to be, it's hard to say he's going to be more successful than this year because he's, a first team All-American. I think he's going to be really good immediately next year in college basketball and in the NBA. Crazy Dodd says, I agree with Acuff being a solid number one pick. His game translates to the NBA. Listen, we got 3 more months to talk NBA draft. The other thing, too, with Acuff, for whatever reason, I think we all take for granted that all of these Calipari guards are just great. So I think it's gotten a little lost in the shuffle of, Calipari has another great guard. I think once the tournament starts and people are really watching him game over game and hopefully Arkansas can make a little bit of a run, I think people are going to be like, he's even better than I realized because we're all watching. If you're watching this show, it means you're a college hoops diehard, you love the sport, whatever. There's a lot of people that are going to be tuning in to watch Darius Acuff for the first time or watching closely for the first time in the next couple weeks. And so I think this thing could continue to grow. Obviously, part of it is that hopefully Arkansas makes a deep tournament run. Man, any other questions before we get out of here? Koa Pete coming back to Arizona. He's fallen to 11-16 in mock drafts. I wish. Listen, I think I was talking to somebody about this last night. I think there's a legitimate argument. If you are not a for sure top 15 pick, just come back to college. The NIL money is good. You can develop at your own pace. And you get drafted by the wrong team, you could go to the G League and never come back. Like I'll give you an example probably better than Koa. As a UConn guy, people were like, well, Braylon Mullins has to declare. I'm like, why? So he can get drafted 21st overall by the Celtics or, the Celtics are, you know what I mean? Like, he's not going top 15. He's just not. I'm not trying to be a jerk. I'm just stating a fact. So now you go 22 to a team that just made the playoffs. They don't need you right away. You go to the G League. You're undersized. You need to put on weight. I'm sorry. Like, he's the perfect example. Koa's maybe a pretty good example of guys that if you're not a for sure, like top 15 pick, I think you should be coming back to college. All right, let's go ahead and wrap the show. A little bit of a down note. I do think it's worth at least acknowledging at the end. And we waited till the end so we could do this properly, but did want to just spend half a second talking about the great Lou Holtz, who passed away on Wednesday evening at the age of 89 years old. Okay, so listen, there's other people that can talk better about his coaching career. He's obviously, of course, the last coach to win a national championship at Notre Dame. I think it's kind of cool that, Notre Dame is kind of back on the rise and he got to see it, towards the end of his life. I did not know this. I saw this from one of the Arkansas beat writers. The most winningest 3-year run of Arkansas football history came under Lou Holtz. Guy was successful everywhere he went. And I'll say this, even in South Carolina, I told this story on SiriusXM on Wednesday afternoon after he passed. But he goes to South Carolina, and one of my vivid memories of Lou Holtz was he takes the South Carolina job. One of his first recruiting visits was to Bloomfield, Connecticut, the town next to me, to recruit a player named Andrew Pinnock. Okay, so Andrew Pinnock was the number one player in the state from the same high school as Dwight Freeney, by the way. You've probably heard of that name. And what I remember is he takes the South Carolina job. He goes to visit Andrew Pinnock. And this was obviously in the 90s. It was the way we consumed information was a lot different back then. But I remember it literally leading the news of Lou Holtz, 6 o'clock news, is in Bloomfield, Connecticut to meet with Andrew Pinnock. And so that was the kind of presence he had, larger than life, would lead the local news when he came to your town. I think what's as important is what he did in retirement, right? He did the Thursday and, of course, the Saturday night college football show. Listen, for a certain generation, I don't think that they appreciate, like, college football final with Mark May, Reese Davis, and Lou Holtz was the show of record. And I think you have to remember, this was 15, 20, 10 years ago, whatever, is that basically there weren't a million shows like this streaming every Saturday night. The games end. You can go on YouTube. If you're a Georgia fan, there's 12 different streams going on. You can pick and choose what you want. 7 national streams going on at the same time. There was none of that in 2010, and it was, you went to ESPN, it was Reese Davis, Mark May, and Lou Holtz. And they had the famous, judge scenes where Reese Davis, they would argue with each other. You had, of course, Dr. Lou, which, of course, Matt just referenced in the chat. And I would also add this. Those pregame speeches, remember the Thursday nights he used to give the pregame speech? Unbelievable. Every single time. And by the way, you know what else my other favorite Lou Holtz thing was? This beef that he had with Ryan Day, which I still can't say with a straight face, but these last couple years, remember, he said something about Ryan Day and Ohio State was soft, and Ryan Day got mad and he started screaming about, where's Lou Holtz now? I don't know. He's probably in his recliner. He was like 88 years old at the time. And so you fast forward, this guy was an icon. This guy was a legend, and listen, again, I'm a little too young to remember him as a coach, like as a great coach, but he won a natty at Notre Dame, incredible run at Arkansas, coached in the NFL for half a second. I believe, I could be mistaken, I believe he actually had an incredible run at Minnesota as well. Let me go ahead and check on that. I don't want to be misinformed here, but he was at Minnesota for just 2 years, and that's when that's when he left for Notre Dame. Okay, so he left Arkansas for the New York Jets, or when did he leave for he left NC State for the Jets. That's what it was. But he was successful at NC State, successful at Arkansas, successful at Minnesota, and of course, most notably at Notre Dame. I think there's other people that could speak to this better than I can. I just want to spend half a second. And by the way, when I'm smiling, I hope people know, because I've gotten this criticism. Oh, you're smiling. Why are you laughing about? I'm not laughing, but I'm thinking about Dr. Lou. I'm thinking about him and Mark May. By the way, I remember he was at that Notre Dame-Miami game to open the college football season this past year. So it was great that he was kind of in the college football sphere. It was great that he, it was great that he really was, just out. He was out there, right? He was doing interviews with McAfee and all that stuff in the lead up to Notre Dame, Ohio State a few years ago. Either way, shout out Lou Holtz. Just a sad story. But he did pass away at the age of 89 on Wednesday. I will say this, too, now that I'm thinking about it. He had the great famous line about Storrs, Connecticut, because his son, Skip Holtz, was, of course, the head coach at UConn when they were in FCS, before they were 1AA at the time. As they were transitioning to FBS 1A, he left, Skip Holtz left, and Randy Edsel got the job. But Lou Holtz had the famous line about Storrs, Connecticut, where he said, yeah, they call it Storrs because they just opened the second one. So that was a different Storrs from a different era, but rest in peace to Lou Holtz at the age of 89, who passed away on Wednesday. All right, I think that's it for this episode of the Aaron Torres pod. I kind of mentioned it half a second ago, but no game previews this weekend. Listen, I could do 11 minutes on North Carolina Duke. Then Caleb Wilson gets cleared, and what's it all for? Florida, Kentucky, I think we all know where we think that's going to go. even Michigan State on Sunday. Michigan plays tonight, so it feels weird to do a preview of that one. But that's the deal. That's it for this show. Before we get out of here, couple reminders. First of all, we will have a Sunday night show because on Sunday morning, I'm flying to Nashville. So we won't be at the Mint on Sunday. We will be there on Tuesday, one final time. If you want to join us the night before the SEC tournament, swing by Mint Kentucky Downs, the new Circus Sportsbook. It's in Franklin, Kentucky. It's about 15 minutes from Bowling Green. It's about 25 or so minutes from Nashville. We're going to have free pizza, free food, free booze. Just great place. I know so many of you are going to be driving to Nashville for the SEC tournament. Stop in. Get free dinner on us, on the Mint. Come hang out. Watch some basketball. By the way, Tuesday with these crazy expanded conferences, we're going to have games on Tuesday. ACC tournament's going to be going on. Big 12 tournament is going to be going on. The SEC starts on Wednesday. The Big 10 starts on Wednesday. But we're going to have ACC, Big 12 basketball on Tuesday. I think Gonzaga plays that night, or at least the WCC championship. So make sure to come hang out. I think that's it for today's show. We'll be back Wednesday night. We'll be back Sunday night. I will be in Nashville by that point. I'll just be doing the show from the hotel. Cannot wait to talk about a fun weekend ahead. Cannot wait to start previewing Champ Week. For those of you who haven't heard my spiel, Champ Week is my personal favorite week of the year. Time to get out of here. Appreciate everybody's support. Time to go. I see one question about John Tyson. I don't know. Let's see. We got one Lou Holtz quote to send us out on the show. Favorite Lou Holtz quote. Life is 10% what happens to you and 90% of how you respond to it. Great call by Hunter in the Ozarks. It's time for me to go. Shout out to Torrent Craig. Shout out to Rachel, who hates my voice. Shout out to JJ Reddick, you F-head. Unblock me, bro. Shout out, of course, to the late Lou Holtz. Thoughts and prayers with his family.